continue with that. It's a big day for the Springbok women's national rugby team in the country as the women's team go in search of putting up a good performance at this year's Women's Rugby World Cup being played out in England. They face off with Brazil in their first clash later on this afternoon. And to speak to us more about it, we are joined via our Zoom line by Caxton local media sports writer Ruan De Ridder on the line to help us, look ahead to this clash between South Africa as well as Brazil. Ruan, a very good morning to you and thank you so much for your time this morning on the Weekend Report. I guess we cannot stress it enough. It's a big game for the South African side, hoping to get their first points at a Rugby Women's World Cup. But let's start, though, about how important it is for the South African side, Ruan, to get those points against a Brazil side that is ranked 25th in the world, while South Africa are ranked 12th.
Well, yes, it is very important to get off to a good start. It's a very difficult pool that the Bok women are in, alongside Brazil, who's 25th in the world, and us being 12th. You've got the 7th place Italians and then the 4th place France. So you're looking to get about 2 wins to make it out of the pool, and they've got aspirations of reaching the quarterfinals. So it is very important to get off to a winning start against them. And this is the first time ever that these two sides meet, that being the Springboks and Brazil. So you can only hope for a positive start. On paper, we should win this one, but you never know in a World Cup.
Yeah.
But the spirits are high and we are very positive.
Yeah, the spirits are high. There's a lot of positivity surrounding the women's rugby side at the moment, Ruan. But let's speak about the match day 23 selected by coach Swayze de Brain, an experienced side with about 4 players making their first ever appearance at a Women's Rugby World Cup. What do you make of the squad selected by the coach?
He's put out a very, very strong team for the opening match, and I think that it shows the intent that they're going for this win. They're giving it their all, and they put the strongest possible side, I think, out there to do it. I think you've got the boy who's like leading from the front, always the Western Province captain, and then you've got star players in like Ayanda Malinga, who's very strong as a winger, and she's been scoring for fun in the women's Premier division in South Africa. And then you can't talk about the Springbok women at the moment and not talk about Nadine Ruiz.
Yeah.
She really gets the side ticking and firing in all cylinders. So they're gunning for this win, and that's what we are excited about because we want to win as South Africa, and we think this is the best possible side to get that win.
Yeah. How do you then think they would have prepared for this game against the Brazilian side? So 12th in the world are South Africa, Brazil 25th in the world. You did earlier say that they would fancy their chances against Brazil. How do they go about preparing for a game like this then against a side they've never played before in the 15s rugby, as opposed to having played them before in 7s rugby?
So talking to Nadine Ruiz in an interview earlier this week, it's just about sticking to their systems. Since Coach Swayze de Brain and Bafana Nhleko came into the system, they've really been very innovative in their approach, and that's what they are focusing on at the moment. They're focusing on the systems and putting effort and outcome, not so much caring about results at the end of the day, but just making sure they know the system, they know what they need to do. And then earlier this week, Nadine mentioned, which was very interesting, but that Swayze is also that type of rugby coach that innovates like Rassie Erasmus does. So he will have something up his sleeve to make sure that if things don't go their way, that they've got a trick up their sleeve to get the positive result.
You've watched this team for the last couple of months, and I can imagine for the last couple of years, of course, since the last Rugby World Cup that was hosted by New Zealand back in 2021, Ruan. And there's a lot of positivity surrounding the team for the very first time. There's a sense that this team can do something special at this year's Women's Rugby World Cup. How far do you think they can go, Ruan?
So their aspirations is reaching the quarterfinals, but in order to do that, we need to around 2 wins and hope other results go away. But I think we need to be positive as South Africans. They're only gunning for their 4th ever victory at a World Cup.
Yeah.
If they beat Brazil today, that would be the 4th. So aspirations of the quarterfinal. But I mean, if we definitely beat Brazil and get a positive result either against Italy or France, I think that should be growth and be a positive taking from this World Cup in any case.
You earlier spoke about Swayze de Brain and, what he's brought to this women's setup since, coming on board last year around this time in August. I do believe he'll be reaching a year with the team very soon. But let's speak about the impact that he's brought to this team and why there's a sense of positivity surrounding the women's team run for the very first time in a very long time.
I think he has a very good belief system in place. Again, speaking to Nadine earlier this week, she mentioned that he's instilled values in them, and I think that's the important part. And we've always known that Swayze is a tactical visionary, and he's shown at the teams where he has coached that he is someone that has very strict and very strong beliefs, and that he's got high standards for the teams that he coaches. But that is why it's so positive, because the girls have really bought into his system and they are feeling that positivity and they just want to deliver the best, and they're doing this for South Africa.
All right, before we wrap up, your prediction for today's match against Brazil? South Africa hopefully will win by how many points?
I think we'll have a comfortable victory with about 20 points.
All right, with about 20 points, the Springbok women's side. Thank you so much, Ruan, for your time this morning on the Weekend Report. Ruan De Ridder, of course, is a media sports writer for Caxton local media, speaking to us, of course, ahead of this match between South Africa as well as Brazil.